Hey there everyone, welcome to the UkeStuff channel. Today I am very delighted to bring this ukulele to your attention. This is the Flight Spirit Concert Ukulele. It was a gift and I'm very, very grateful for this ukulele. I will never sell it and hopefully my boys someday will inherit this as an instrument of their own, or maybe when they're older, if they start playing as adults, I will gift it to them. It is a gorgeous ukulele. And if you think that Flight is a bargain basement brand or an internet brand selling super cheap ukuleles, this shows you otherwise. Now, they do have some very affordable, wonderful entry-level ukuleles, but they also do work like this. It is stunning. And today what we're going to do is in this review is we're going to look at three basic areas. First of all, we're going to talk about the subjective issues of the instrument. Second, we'll talk about objective data for people that are interested in that. And then third, we'll actually do a summary, or I'll do my summary of the instrument. I really, really like it, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have some things that I'll say about it that could be better. I mean, in our entire lives, there's nothing that's perfect, and everything can be tweaked in some ways, so I'll cover that as well. So the first issue is cost. These are about $550, and you can get them pretty much wherever a dealer would have Hal Leonard. You might have to ask your local dealership to order one for you. As I'm recording this video, this is during the virus outbreak and we're all at home, your local dealer's probably still open, so you could probably call them up and they could definitely arrange to have one of these sent to your local dealer where you could pick it up at the curb. Some dealers might even run it out to you. But being a $550 ukulele, most dealers just aren't going to stock one of these on their shelves. And I'll just use a local dealership near me where we do a lot of our local jams. I often will go to the Twin Cities Ukulele Club jams at Growth Music in Bloomington, Minnesota. And Growth Music was carrying the Elite brand of American manufacturer with ukuleles above the price of $600. And what they found out is that in general, people walking into the store aren't going to buy one of those. If they want to buy one of those, they'll come in and ask. They aren't going to buy them off the shelf. So don't be angry if your local dealer doesn't keep one of these in stock, but do be aware that your local dealer can probably get one for you. But that being said, it makes it one step removed from being able to go to a store and hold it and see it and fall in love with it if they don't have it. But just that's part of the reason why we do these reviews. Not only are they for people interested in their first ukulele, maybe it's their next. So in terms of cost, $550 is significant. If you're looking at the Flight Travel ukulele, which comes in around $55 for the long neck, same scale length as this one, that's 10 times the price. Absolutely. The question is it worth it? And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Now, in terms of value, the attention to detail on this ukulele, the features that it has, which are out of this world. I don't even know how to describe all the features without blurring into the issues of build quality and appearance. So let me kind of mix all that together. Just pointing out features that you get on this ukulele. You get this amazing headstock. Nobody else does a headstock like this. And I was looking at it, and the joint secretly, quietly just sneaks right up, so you don't even see the joint in the headstock there. Rear-facing tuners that work incredibly well. A tech ebony fretboard, so it's never going to have issues with weather or climate with the fretboard, with frets popping out. Now, you want to keep an eye on humidity. If you're outside of the range of 40 to 60% relative humidity, with this instrument, you'll want to make sure that you're caring for it. So below 40%, you'll want to humidify it. Above 60%, you might want to consider a dehumidifier. So it is a solid wood ukulele, but that fretboard is never going to cause you issues. The cool location of the frets, offset. You've got the neat rosette. You've got a pull-through bridge, which is not a part of every flight instrument. You have D'Addario titanium strings. You've got an amazing sound hole cut out on the side. That's really cool. You have this scallop cutout or cutaway right here instead of a traditional cutaway. The idea there, the mindset there is that that's then another piece to resonate rather than nothingness in there with the sound top. You have a really cool stripe going up the back. You have a satin neck with the rest of the body being gloss. You have amazing acacia. This light can't capture it, but actually you can see it. It shimmers. There is flaming on this ukulele that I have on no other ukulele that I own when I hold it in the light and it shimmers. It is just unbelievable. Just looking across, I'm saying, did I forget anything? You get a pickup that you get. And then on top of all that, if I can find it here, there it is, you get this gig bag. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. When I've seen these flight gig bags online, when I'm looking at them, these don't look like much in the picture. The pictures don't do this thing justice. Now, the outside is cool. It's red, but that could be like, so what? And it's a smaller pocket. So what? But when you open it up and you check it out, it is like fuzzy line. It's 20 millimeters of padding. It's an incredible gig bag. And that doesn't mean that the gig bag doesn't have room to improve too. I mean, I've talked with Flight about the idea of putting a little hook here so that you could hang it. That's really good, especially if you're traveling with it and you need to like hang it in the bathroom or something or on a wall so it's not being stepped on. That's really cool. The handle is really, really nice. This gig bag is amazing. It's the best gig bag. It could be improved, but it's the best gig bag I've seen in the industry. And I'll just be honest with that. So you get that too. So if I put all that together, I think you are getting the value for the money for a solid wood instrument. As for build quality, pretty much the same exact thing. The one issue with construction is I have one tiny spot on the side, I don't even think I can show it, where the finish has a bubble and you can feel it. I mean, if I scratch it, you can even hear it in there. That's it. That's the only flaw. There is a rattle with the electronics in here because this is a passive pickup. And when I reach in, I can feel that the cable is up against the soundboard. So at some point, I just need to get in there and I need to move that cable. But I just have to let you know that that's also not a major issue. That's pretty common with instruments with pickups. So, I mean, that's it. Otherwise, this thing is perfect. If you shine a light in there and look at it, it is immaculate. It is just done so well. Just top-notch construction. You can't even hardly see. There's no binding, but you can hardly see even where the two body parts meet. There is a little strip of binding right there at the tailpiece, but it is just remarkable. So the build quality is almost perfection. And the appearance, you've heard me rave about this already. I've been thinking about it, and I have one other ukulele that I would rate as being gorgeous. This one might be the prettiest that I own, and it probably will be the prettiest that I ever own. It's really good. It's really, really a beautiful instrument. So, that really covers that whole issue all in one big scoop. The issues of value, build quality, and appearance. I've also already talked about terms of availability. Again, your local dealer probably isn't going to have one of these on the shelf for you to just try, but they probably can get one for you through their connections with Hal Leonard. As for playability, a couple things. When it arrived, I thought the action was pretty high, but when I measured it today, and I had measured it previously, the action at the nut was less than 0.5 millimeters, and the action at the 12th was 2.5 millimeters, dead on. So maybe everything settled down, and in the weeks that I've had it, because I've had it more than a month at this point, I haven't messed around with the setup. I haven't sent it to anybody to be set up. Maybe just things settled down after it arrived. Maybe it didn't like shipping. I don't know. but it has settled down into just really good playability. The addition of a satin neck, it is just crazy. I don't have any other ukulele that does this, but you'll hear players that have gloss ukuleles that will sand down their neck because they don't like the feel. So Flight made sure that you didn't have to do that. The neck is already satin when the rest of it is gloss to make it a really good playing experience. Pretty cool. That's pretty amazing. Now, the one thing I wonder is it is actually a little bit larger than a 35 millimeter nut, just slightly, and the string spacing is pretty generous under that 35 millimeter nut. But I do wonder if they kept the same general shape of the neck and made it a 38 millimeter, how would that even make it more comfortable, or could it? Or would you lose the cool slenderness of that headstock? By the way, I love the Flight F logo up there. That's just really cool. It's just tasteful. Juliana and Primo really knocked themselves out with designing these Royal Series ukuleles. So in terms of playability, there's nothing taking away from you here. It's and I do wonder what it would be with a larger nut, but beyond that, it's pretty good. I'll just leave it at that. The only thing that could possibly make it better would be a radius fretboard, maybe, but there are plenty of makes that don't have radius. In fact, the majority that don't. So even that is kind of a weak question or a weak argument in the process. Now, as it comes to tone and the sound quality and the volume, this is where I find myself really torn, and I have to bring in another ukulele to talk about it. It's a warm, clear tone of a solid wood instrument. It's pretty. It's not boxy. So it's nice. It's a good sound quality. It's a very good sound quality. But it's not excessively loud. And it's really mid-range heavy. There's sustain, but the high frequencies die off first, and then the mids continue to ring. So it's very mid-range of an ukulele. And that's been causing me some issues, because what I end up doing is I end up comparing it to this instrument, which is my 2004 solid Koa Koloa. This instrument, new today, is about, $1,150. So we're talking $600 more than the Flight Spirit. Koa is a form of acacia, but it's grown only in Hawaii, and it's subject to the climate there, which makes it different. Acacia is still a wonderful tone wood, and it's been used for instruments and furniture since the ancient times. In fact, if you read through a Bible, you'll see acacia mentioned all over the place in the Old Testament. Moses was building things out of acacia. So acacia has been with us for a very, very long time. It's a wonderful tone wood, but there's something unique about Koa. So when I play my ColoHa, which I tuned earlier, there's a couple things going on with the ColoHa that I need to point out. And why am I pointing this out in a review about the Spirit? Because I find myself comparing the Spirit to this instrument. That's how good the Spirit is. And that's where I wanted to kick into the next gear. And that's what I'll show you. Is so ColoHa has this really crazy build where they don't use kerfing inside. They have what they call a unibrace in the middle, very thin, very, very super resonant, and it's made out of Hawaiian koa. And the high frequencies on this one just keep going. They just keep going. The overtones are there, but the sound and the sustain, they all just keep ringing. So when I am playing my Flight Spirit, I hear part of it, but what misses are two things. There's not as much sustain, and I lose that high frequency sooner. So I kind of wish that there was a little extra gear. But then that makes me kick into a comparison with another ColoHa product. Now again, this isn't fair because this is built more in a traditional mode than ColoHa. ColoHa kind of breaks the rules in their construction and it works. But everybody else builds them like this. There's bracing inside and other things and kerfing. So I have to compare it to this. This is my ColoHa Acacia Opio ukulele. It's a concert. Now, you'll notice that they're roughly, the same size and so forth. The Acacia, but this one is built just like the Koa model, exactly almost. If you took measurements, it's built exactly the same. I believe in Thailand, in a factory that was built by ColoHa. And then these are built there just like they are in Hawaii and then sent to ColoHa. Now, I'm not trying to sell you on this, but I'm trying to make you understand what I'm hearing. Now, my ColoHa here has a low G, which I think the Spirit would like too. And if you notice, this also has that darker mid-range. It's not Koa, it's Acacia. So if I compare the ColoHas together, Koa, bright, clear, ringy. Acacia, less ringy, less sustain, definitely more mid-lower range. Now, if I compare the top 3 strings on the ColoHa with the Flight, listen to what I hear. The qualities are almost identical, with the exception that the ColoHa has more sustain, and that's because of its strange and different construction. Now, again, I'm not telling you to go out and buy a ColoHa. What I'm trying to do is explain the difference of why I think I'm hearing what I hear on the Flight. Now, the ColoHa you can buy for about the same price as you can the Flight, but there's a ton of things you don't get, including an equal gig bag. It does come with a gig bag, but it's not as nice. You don't get a pickup, and I like ColoHa. It's okay. I like lots of ukuleles. Just like when I ride motorcycles. If you talk to me, I ride a Victory motorcycle. They no longer make them. But if I see another motorcycle, I like motorcycles. Period. It doesn't matter what brand you drive. I will talk to you about your motorcycle. With ukuleles, I don't care what ukulele you choose. I will talk to you about your ukulele because I like ukuleles. But this one is such a good-looking instrument. There's the prettiness and the nature of the ColoHa, and it's super light, and the way that it's built, and it's vibrant, and it's kind of cool. But at the same time, look at that. The Acacia is undoubtedly a higher standard of Acacia. It's a beautiful, beautiful ukulele. So what you do is you sort of sacrifice a little bit of sustain for the same relative material, but you get a much nicer ukulele in terms of all the features that you get. So that kind of breaks down that discussion of sound, factoring back into the issue of price with equivalent instruments or instruments that cost twice as much. So in summary of this subjective section of this review, I think you really do get quite an amazing ukulele for the price. And Southern Ukulele Store reviewed some of these flights and came to the same conclusion that price, it's hard to match what you're getting in these instruments. Now let's talk about the objective data. I am going to have to zoom in occasionally on my iPad here because I'm not wearing my reading glasses to avoid glare with the ring light. The scale length is concert, and it's 15.125 inches from the nut to the saddle, slight bit longer than normal. There are 19 frets on it. That's a lot of frets. Usually you see 18 with a concert. There are side position markers, and there are those really cool front position markers that are offset. Looks really cool. The body is a traditional double bout with that scalloped cutaway. The only other ukulele that I've seen like that is the snail, and as far as I know, we can't buy those snails readily in the United States. There's a snail, all acacia, but then you're also not going to get some of these other really cool features that come with the Flight Spirit. The soundboard is made of solid acacia, resonant in its own right. The back and sides are made of acacia. The fretboard is made out of something called Tech Ebony, which I love the idea. It works, it looks great, and it solves some problems with sharp fret edges. The bridge is also Tech Ebony, but it has a pull-through bridge, which if you don't have one of these, I have a few ukuleles that do this. Ultimately what you do is you loosen the strings up here, you cut them, and you feed them through, and then you can pull them out through the sound hole. Then to put on the new strings, you feed it through here first, and believe it or not, if you do it right, the curvature of the packaging of the strings pops the string out. You can tie a knot in there, or you can put a bead on the end or tie it to a bead, pull it tight, and then you can tighten it. They're not so hard to change, and in fact, they're probably easier to change in reality once you've done it once than one of the tie bar bridges, which I also don't think are that hard, but they do cause some people some issues. And I have bought some secondhand ukuleles that people have put tie bar bridge ties on, and you kind of go, how did they ever get it to hold? So, this pull-through method works pretty good. It's not a radius fretboard. As I mentioned, it'd be interesting to see what they could do with it if it was. Be kind of fun. The nut and saddle are made of bone. It's a very slender nut, too, by the way. A lot of them are very thick and chunky. That one's just, right to work. And then the saddle is compensated. So it gives you a little more vibrating length for your C and E strings and less for your G and A strings to allow for the diameter of the strings. So if you wanted to switch this to low G, you might want to consider a different saddle. I haven't seen too many compensated saddles for low G though. I'll have to keep my eyes out for that. The finish is that really cool combination of gloss and then the satin neck with the stripe up the back, which is so cool. The overall length is 24.25 inches, so 24 1/4 inches, and it weighs 1 pound, 6.4 ounces, even with the electronics in it. The tuners are really nice working, smooth, rear-facing tuners. The action at the first fret, as I've already said, is less than 0.5 millimeters. The action at the 12th fret is 2.5 millimeters. The nut width is 35.54 millimeters. Usually you'll find the 35 millimeter nuts running small in the 34s, not this one. And the spacing between the strings at the first fret are 8.84 millimeters between each string, which is pretty generous, giving you about 29 millimeters G to A. So that's pretty spacious on a 35 millimeter nut. The neck is a C-shape neck. It isn't overly deep. It's only 22.07 millimeters deep at the third fret. What I do is I measure from the top of the strings to the bottom of the neck at the third fret. So it's not overly chunky. It's very comfortable to hold. So that covers all of those objective data points on this ukulele. In summary, it wasn't too long ago that I was seeing Flight all over social media, particularly with YouTubers like Elise Eklund and Bernadette, and I hadn't really heard of that brand before. I'm still relatively new to ukulele though, so I wasn't stuck in any tradition that an ukulele is only a K-brand ukulele or something like that. So I was intrigued by it. Eventually I ended up buying a Flight, and that opened my eyes to all the really cool things that Flight is doing. Their involvement with social media, their attempt to really build a brand image and connect with their customers and to listen to their customers is quite remarkable. And their ability to make changes on models. So when they get feedback from people, they're not afraid to change the next model up a little bit to fix something. Their vision of making things that are kind of cool and funky. This is a very classical ukulele with really modern touches on it. They're not afraid to do that, but they're also willing to make traditional ukuleles, and they're willing to try new materials and all sorts of things. So it's really a cool brand, and I'm just pleased to be able to work with them a little bit in the things that I'm doing in my own ukulele life. So this would fall into Flight's highest end ukuleles that they offer right now, although the price point is at the mid-range of most of the other high-level manufacturers. Those other companies will go well into the $1,000 and beyond range before they get into instruments with these kind of characteristics and these features. As I've already said, this is probably now my most attractive ukulele, and it's one of those instruments that you just want to take out and look at and hold in the light and move around and then play. So anytime you have an instrument that draws you to it more, to make you play it more, it's really a winner. So how would I rate this? On a scale of 5 ukuleles, based on that little bit of treble that I'd love to see more, I'm going to rate this as 4.5 out of 5 ukuleles, which I think is rather fair and honest if I do it. It's not perfect, but boy, it's close. And if you buy one of these, you're going to be really happy. In the 1-minute ukulele review that I made for this, one of the things that I say is this, which is it's a shame that so many people will never get a chance to play this because they'll look at the price tag and go, oh no. I'm okay with this $55 TUSL Flight ukulele, which, by the way, is wonderful. So don't get me wrong there. That is a wonderful ukulele too, but it's not this. So hopefully at some point, if you love the instrument, you can open your eyes to things like this and the value that the Flight is and how good of an instrument this is and give it a try. And also in closing, if you buy one of these, remember, keep an eye on humidity because it would be a heart loss to buy one of these and not keep an eye on humidity and then find out that either it suffered a warped body or neck due to too much excessive humidity, or that it cracked because of too low of humidity. It's easy enough to maintain humidity on one of these instruments, and just make sure that if you buy one of those, you've got a plan for that and that you're going to keep aware of that. Thanks for watching the video. I'll have more content for you soon, and truly best wishes to all of you in these difficult times.